So you may notice that I have my chef toque on today because this is actually going to be something a little more relevant. I've been doing a couple of satire videos and poking fun at some people for the comments they made and the diet choices that they made, but today it's going to be a little different because I saw this fucking picture on Facebook waking up, getting my coffee, and I thought it was absolutely terrible. I died a little inside when I saw this picture. And then I died even more when I realized that this was not a home cook that made this. If a home cook makes something like this, the dish sucks, but it's, you can learn from it. The only way to get better at cooking is to actually learn from the things that you are doing. However, what I found out through a very quick reverse image lookup is it actually came from this restaurant. I absolutely cannot believe that this dish came out of a restaurant in Cabo where you're going to be spending upwards of $125 in some cases for food. It's absolutely unacceptable. So with these scallops, I can guarantee you that the scallops were overcooked on the outside and still raw in the middle. What causes that? Okay, what causes that is a pan that was left on heat too long. It got too hot. They put the scallops in there. They burnt one side of it. There's scallops, the scallops in the picture are burnt on the outside and they're raw on the inside. This is because the pan is too hot. If you're cooking scallops at home, or if you're cooking a steak or cooking anything else, this is always what the problem is. It'll be burnt on the outside and raw on the inside. Well, this is always what the problem is when this is the problem.
I thought my jokes were bad.
What you need to do in the future, if you're cooking scallops like this at home, steak actually applies to this, so does like ahi tuna steak, things where they don't need to be cooked, they don't need to be destroyed when they're cooked. Some people will even eat their salmon at medium. It's actually a better temperature, getting it closer to that medium range. Well done salmon can tend to be dry, but then there's some things like chicken where it needs to be at 165 degrees. There is no such thing as a mid-rare or medium chicken, and if you ever have ordered that at a restaurant, I am talking all kinds of mad shit about your stupid order. It's stupid. Do not order your chicken anything other than to be well done. When you get your scallops, there's different sizes. You can usually see them in the seafood department. They'll have them organized into size, or the seafood guy is really knowledgeable. He can help you out with the count and the size that you want. Now, when you get your scallops home and you go to cook them, you're going to want to make sure they're dry first. You're going to want to put them on something to kind of dry them up a little bit. I'll use like a paper towel that isn't very fibrous, like not like a utility type of towel, but something that's something that will dry it but won't leave a bunch of paper fibers on it. At work, there's more things that you can use for this. So first off, pat your scallops dry, and then you're going to heat your pan, and you want to put it on medium to medium high heat, and you want the oil, you want that pan to be super hot, but you don't want it to be so hot that it gets like fucking pissed at you when you put the scallops in there. You want it to sizzle. You don't want it to be a cold pan. You want it to sizzle. Now, sizzle means that the pan is at least above the boiling point of water. So it's over 212 degrees. All right. Ideally, if you could have like an infrared thermometer, which nobody has an infrared thermometer in their house. Some people do. Like, I'm the kind of dumbass that would have an infrared thermometer. But the temperature of the pan itself is going to be around that 350 degree mark. It's going to be hot, but under the smoke point. What is the smoke point of your oil? Well, typically most people are going to just have regular ass vegetable oil in their house, which is actually going to be a smoke point of around 400 degrees. If you're using older oil, that temperature starts to go down, which is where you get kitchen fires, because the smoke point goes down, the ignition point goes down, and you're more likely to start a fire. Because of oil degradation. EVOO, the smoke point is closer to 325. Straight lard, it's around 370. Clarified butter, it's close to 450. Butter and margarine, that's closer to that 400, 410 range. Clarified butter is different. That's a different process. If you want to know how to make clarified butter, I can actually show you in a different video. So those are some of the smoke points of different kinds of oil. So generally, if you're in that 350 range, you're usually safe. And with the exception of olive oil, it's going to be a little bit lower. You're going to want it closer to like that 300, 315 kind of range. You don't want your oil smoking because, well, once your oil is smoking, there's more of a danger of backsplash happening. You put the scallops in there, and you've all seen it when you have something too hot in there and some water falls, and that is a sign that your oil is way too hot. If you want to know how hot your pan is before you put the oil in it, set your stove to like a medium heat. Give it enough time to where you think it's hot before putting any oil in it, and grab a little bit of water and you know, flick it in with your finger. I'm talking to home cooks. Don't flick water in with your fingers if you're a line cook, okay? If you're cooking at home, you're making it for yourself. You usually don't give a crap about that kind of stuff. So take a little bit of water, flick it into the pan, and it will basically, you'll see it turn into steam. If it has a really, like if you flick the water in and it has a really aggressive, kind of like insta boil, then you know that your pan is too hot. But if you throw it in there and the water hangs around for a little bit, you get a little bit of that Leadenfrost effect where the water, you get like those balls and they kind of dance around. They kind of look like they almost have a little personality, and it takes it a little bit longer. That's about the perfect heat that you want. After you get used to setting your stovetop to the right temperature and doing that to kind of experiment a little bit, you'll start to figure out like where the right temperature for your pan is. Then oil goes in the pan, scallops go in the pan. The order that you put the scallops in the pan is the order that you're gonna wanna take them out in. Anything that you put in a pan, it's gonna be first in, first out. So whatever method you want to use to keep track of the ones that you put in first, that's the method that you need. So I don't care if you wanna do a zigzag pattern and you know that, you know, if you wanna play with it and do that, I don't give a shit, and it's the same thing I tell cooks when I'm training them. I don't give a shit how you do it as long as the product turns out amazing because you followed the instructions, the general principles. I don't care if you put them in a circle, if you put them in a square, if you do a zigzag pattern. However you put them in the pan is the order that you need to turn them and the order you need to take them out in. You want to season one side before you put them in because you can't season the bottom of the scallop if it's face down.
Well, duh.
So season one side of the scallop, go a little bit heavy on the seasoning. Don't completely smother them. I mean, it's not like you're rubbing. You're not like making a rub for a pork butt to slow cook it. So, you know, sprinkle it on there. Go just a little bit heavier than you want. How much heavier? Well, however you would normally season your food, do a little bit more than that. What you're actually gonna notice around the scallop, I have this little jar. So pretend this is a scallop. What you'll notice is first the edge of the scallop will start to blonde, which means it'll turn kind of a yellowish color. That's a really light yellow color. And then you'll start to see the edge crisp up a little bit. Now, the longer you wait, the darker that yellowish orangish color is going to get. The more intense the Maillard reaction is going to be, and the more brown this is gonna get. You do not want your scallops this color, okay? So pay attention, and what you can actually do is you can buy a bunch of scallops while you're experimenting. Get a bunch of scallops and get like one or two extra. Now scallops are expensive, so like I don't even use them all the time. Scallops are expensive. This is usually for a special night that you don't want to fuck up, okay? So whatever portion you're going to get for scallops, get like one or two extra. What you're gonna do is you're gonna do everything that I suggested first. Heat your pan up, do like through like a little tiny splashing of water. If you don't want to get your fingers wet and flick the water in, you know, take a little spoon and kind of drizzle some water in there. If it has a really low simmer and doesn't feel like it doesn't look like there's a lot of energy happening, then it's not hot enough. If you get that Leadenfrost effect where the water is bubbling on top of the pan, then that's perfect. If you get this just insane, overly aggressive boil where it's like instantly steaming and your pan just seems angry because it's so pissed off from being hot, then it's too hot. Okay, you want that good middle ground. So do that, put your oil in the pan, give the oil a little bit to heat up. It doesn't take long. You don't want to like put the oil in the pan and then just go walk away and go watch a show or something. I mean, it literally takes like maybe 30 seconds, okay? It doesn't take very long at all. because you're not adding a shitload. That's the other thing. You don't want to add a shitload of oil. Okay, you want just enough oil to where all of your scallops will be in the same amount of oil, but you don't want it deep. You don't want that oil riding up. Like on this, you don't want the oil to be riding way up to where it's like halfway to where you're frying the scallops. You don't want to be deep frying your scallops. Little bit of oil. Once those start to turn, it depends on your pan, depends on the thickness of pan, it depends on the cooking medium, it depends on if it's a gas or if it's electric or whatever, but it's usually 1.5 minutes to about 2 minutes and 15 seconds. It varies. This is why I'm telling you about the browning thing. So take your couple extra scallops, put them in, watch the ring of the scallop, watch for that browning, and when you think it's done, turn it over and look at it. Don't use your hands. Use some tongs or something. But, take your tongs, flip it over, look at it. Is it done enough? Is it brown enough? Is it blonde? Is it brown? Is it burnt? If it's too dark brown, it's burnt. Okay, you want a nice brown on it. Let me see. I think I was eating chips. Okay. See this? This is not quite, this is almost perfect, all right? Kind of like right here, see this color? This is about the color that you want your scallops, all right? You do that on both sides, you're gonna get laid, I promise. Man, woman, or circle. That means that your heat is perfect. You do that on both sides. If that time frame is right, if the pan is at the right heat, like I said it is, and if you do it right, by the time both sides of that scallop looks like that has that nice brown look to it, that nice caramelization, by the time both sides look like that, the inside is going to be cooked. Undercooking your scallops can kind of suck, okay? Most seafoods do not take very long to cook at all. Even lobster tails don't take very long in boiling water, okay, if you're cooking them that way. But that'll be something else. So if your scallops are slightly underdone, you are actually better off not putting them in the pan and serving them that way than continuing to cook them and having them be overcooked. Scallops will go from amazing, there's like this spectrum, like there's underdone to the point where they're gross, right? And then they can be like slightly underdone and some people don't like it, but most people will. And then there's like this little tiny section, like razor thin, where they're absolutely 100% perfect. And if you don't like these scallops, you're a horrible human being. But then there's like this shelf. There's this like line cutoff where anything above that, they turn into fucking shoe leather. Like it goes from perfect to inedible. Like almost at the snap of a finger. So you got to be really careful. You are better off slightly undercooked. Should you cook your scallops perfect? Absolutely. Cook your scallops perfect. You paid a lot of money for the scallops. Cook them right. Okay. But what I am saying is we are not perfect. No human being on this planet is perfect. You may not make these right the first time, but if you're going to not make them right, you might as well not make them right and have them still taste good instead of having dry, nasty, black, burnt fucking scallops, okay? There's a lot of chefs that can't cook scallops either, but it's out of ignorance. They don't know. They haven't worked with them a lot. They haven't had anybody to train them properly, okay? When you have proper training and you know what you're doing, and then you could do it. And I believe that home cooks, people that have like shitty Teflon pans that are all scratched up because they used a metal turner in it, a metal spatula on the pan, and scrape the shit out of it trying to get it, and they fuck up their pans. I believe that even people like that can make it as long as they have the proper information and know what to do. All right. So is that everything? So that was a video on scallops. That was an explanation of how to make your scallops turn out nice and amazing. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. If you want to see more videos that are a little more on the informational side and educational side, let me know. I have a feeling that this video, popularity-wise, isn't even going to see the light of day. But if it does, awesome. It's something that I really enjoy doing. I love it very much, and I really love training and showing people and getting them to up their cooking game. And hearing stories of them building themselves up as a cook is something that's really amazing to me, and I like it. So if it's something that interests you, let me know. I'll do more of these. If not, whatever. I'll go back to, you know, taking random shit on my table like supplements and shit and dumping them in my mouth and screaming and yelling about stupid shit. So, I don't know. That being said, follow me on my new Instagram. My old one I'm disabling. I can go into that later. My new one is Roasted with Love. And until next time, I'm out.